I spent 6 years really debilitated with chronic pain and incurable disease. I reprogrammed my brain, I rebuilt my body, and I'm back to being really, really healthy. And to add to that, I've seen a lot of other people heal from disease. It's normal for me. It's a big part of my network. And so those are pretty unique. Other than that, I'm playful, I'm goofy, I'm open, I'm honest.
So we're here today with Sky Denton, one of our amazing guides on the Guidely platform. We're so excited you guys all could join us. Sky has an incredible story. He suffered from debilitating illness and autoimmune disease for 6 years and is now optimum health. And I have to say, Sky and I have had many interactions the last few months, and he is just one of the most generous people I've ever virtually met. He exudes this bubbly, fun, joyful generosity that's refreshing. Anything to add?
No, I'm excited. I can't wait to learn and get to know you better. And thanks for everybody for joining us today. This is awesome. I know we're up for a fun journey here. So exciting. Thank you for
Cool.
doing this, guy.
Yeah, thank you, Team Guidely. For all of you out there that don't know how much production it takes to make something like this happen, these guys were up late at night with me, building web pages, troubleshooting, fixing all this stuff to make it happen. So thank you guys. Very fun.
Absolutely, our pleasure. And Nikki, if you want to wave, Nikki was very instrumental in weaving together all the pieces here. And we're really excited to provide our Guidely community and Sky's community with another really inspiring workshop and opportunity to grow and connect with each other. And I'm Shannon, Creative Director at Guidely. This is Amir, CEO at Guidely. So we didn't introduce ourselves, and Sky Denton, if you want to take it away.
Cool. Yeah. Awesome, everyone. Super stoked to have you here. Couple things. First of all, I would like you to be able to take notes today. So if you don't have pencil, paper handy, go get them now. Okay. And for those of you willing to turn your cameras on, I totally encourage it. We're here to celebrate community, to be with like-minded individuals. And it can be easy to kind of stand on the sidelines with some of this work. And so, again, play in whatever way you want. But we would love to see your beautiful faces. And before I go too much further, while people are getting pens and paper, throw in the chat, if you're willing, one of the reasons you're here. There's some reason you're here. There's some draw for you to come to today's presentation. And maybe it's just hearing a story of someone who was sick and now isn't. Or maybe some of you are going through a health issue, or maybe some of you are just curious. But if I can find the chat here, I would just love to know, and I'll see if I can incorporate some of these into today's presentation. Get around good people with good vibes. Ron, good to see you, Ron. Support. Perfect. And there's no right and there's no wrong answer. I've had CFS since 25 years. I've done a lot of things, want to get better completely. Cool, thank you. And Shannon and Amir, let me know, you guys know kind of the cadence that people tend to come in on. And so after a few minutes, if you're like, hey, Sky, hit the gas, let's go, just let me know. And until then, I'll just sort of crowdsource a little bit of information. And
yeah, we'll probably give it a couple more minutes, maybe 3 or 4, but maybe we can, maybe this is part of your, I don't want to jump the gun, but share your story. You know, I've had the pleasure of spending much time with you, and your story is incredible. For those who are coming from the Guidely community and maybe aren't familiar, and probably are going to share that, but it's a really inspiring journey that you've been on.
Cool. Yeah, I will. So just kind of a quick thing. When I was about 20, I started developing a tremendous amount of pain in my body. And it ended up being diagnosed as several incurable autoimmune diseases. And overnight, I transitioned from what was a very high functioning athlete to this version of myself where I couldn't even get out of bed without help. I couldn't walk to the bathroom sometimes without help. I couldn't drive a car anymore. And I saw practitioner after practitioner, and I learned a lot from them. And for me, like, no matter how many supplements I took, no matter how many medications I took, no matter how many massages or like naturopathic doctors or allopathic doctors I saw, I wasn't finding kind of a wholesome and complete view on health until I kept searching. Like, I didn't take no for an answer, and I kept searching. And ultimately, I found some amazing guides that helped me transition out of a life of chronic pain and what would have been a life of a lot of disability to thriving, if you want to use a word for it, where I've been off all medications now for about 6 years. I eat whatever I want. I don't have the limitations of diet. I did some crazy diets. Desperate times call for desperate measures. I did all kinds of diets, and at this point I'm very free of those limitations. And since then, I've helped other people and witnessed other people healing in their own time on their own path. And so at a relatively young age, all of a sudden, I've been able to witness some pretty profound things. And if I ever wondered kind of what my life purpose was, I'm certainly on a mission now to help share with as many people who want to listen what I learned that helped me. And I'll talk about this a little bit more as we go. So that's kind of a little thing for you here. Thank you for the chats. This is helpful. The I am statements have my interest. Cool.
Yeah, I'm also very curious about the I am statements when we were going through the workshop outline. Do we want to give a little preview on that, or leave everybody in suspense?
Well, the I am statements, they are okay. So I am statements can work either for us or against us. My goal today is to help you all speak to your body in the language that your body understands. And so that is what we're going to be kind of practicing, and I'll be explaining more in depth as we go. So I'm going to leave it with that. I'll leave it there for the moment.
Intriguing. And I think it's 11:08, so feel free to hit the gas.
Okay, perfect. Start my timer. Cool, this is fun. Awesome. Well, it seems like everyone's here. I've been chatting for a minute, but welcome everyone. It's an honor to be here. It's very fun. It's a celebration in community and good people and healing and growing. And so thank you, Team Guidely, for the support. There are about 4 things I want you to know about me. And and also make sure you guys you are muted, because sometimes people are moving around. So mute yourselves, leave your cameras on. A couple things about me. So I'm from Jackson Hole, Wyoming, which is this really fun, very unique place where the natural terrain is filled with big stuff. We have, for example, 11 different mountain ranges within a 2-hour drive of where I am now. And they're big mountains. We have wolves and grizzly bears, and it's just kind of this pretty wild place. And that really helped create a mindset that came in handy later on. And all of us have the same ability. All of us have these certain mindsets that can be conducive to success, whether it's healing from disease, building business, personal development, whatever. What I'm grateful for about Jackson is that this environment pushed me to naturally discover the profound presence of the mind-body connection. And so I have a fun picture I'm going to share here. So I'm going to share my screen. And if it's not working, someone let me know. Shannon, can you guys see this picture? Can everyone see this? Give me a thumbs up. Can you see the picture? Perfect. So this is a fun picture. This was taken by my friend Garrett. Well, his sister. Garrett's up on the rock a couple years ago. And if this picture doesn't epitomize the mind-body connection, like, I don't know what does. And what you'll see here is where the body follows the mind. And Jackson, like, there's a rock climb, if you all can see, kind of in this canyon back behind me, there's a rock climb up there too. So growing up in this environment, it sort of pushes us to discover this mind-body connection. And I'll show you how this works. So as I'm about ready to jump off this cliff. I'm standing there looking at my friend Garrett, who's on the top of the rock. And at a certain point, I'm tipped back far enough. I'm ready to jump and I'm fully committed. At that point, I'm still kind of in my head, but as soon as I get backwards, I kind of black out visually and my awareness goes right into my body. And what I want you guys to know is that our brain is designed to work with us and for us. And it's designed to keep us safe, to keep us alive. And so it has this natural ability to do what it needs to do. So right here, where I'm at in kind of the progression of this flip, I'm not really seeing anything. Like I said, I visually pretty much blacked out. My awareness is in my body. And I go into kind of this, what athletes call air awareness or body awareness. And I'm feeling my body in time and space. And again, this, like, whether or not we're jumping off cliffs or sitting on the couch, we all have a brain that's designed and a body that's designed to work with us and for us. Certain environments just ask it to do different things. So as I'm backwards here, my awareness is completely in my body and I'm feeling my way through this motion. And every time we go from conscious awareness of thought into our body, we learn it. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing and come back. Okay. So every time we go from the mind into the body, we learn it. It's like learning a new skill. It's riding a bike. Most people, especially in our Western dominated world, we live in our heads. But this environment helped me live in my body. Disease hit when I was about 20, like I said. And I woke up overnight with a tremendous amount of physical pain right behind my heart. It was locked up right in my spine and it came around my ribs. And it hurt so bad I could hardly breathe. And this became my new normal for like overnight for a couple of years. And it progressed. I was still able to work. I was still able to hang out with my friends to a degree. I couldn't really surf, couldn't do the things I really wanted to at a high level, but I could still manage. And it got worse. I started developing psoriasis on my eyelids, my head. At one point, all my knuckles would crack and bleed, and I would wear gloves around, and it was really embarrassing to take the gloves off. And it was a challenging time. And the pain continued, and I started having all kinds of weird allergies, bizarre reactions to things, digestion problems like bloating, a couple of years of constipation. Really looking back, it's like it's so easy to see that it was so stress related, but at the time I was just doing the best I could and I didn't think I was stressed out. So it continued, and I ultimately was diagnosed with a couple different things. Irritable bowel syndrome, that was the gut stuff. Psoriasis, that was the skin stuff that was all over the place. Psoriatic arthritis, and then the granddaddy of chronic pain in many ways, ankylosing spondylitis. And psoriatic arthritis and ankylosing spondylitis are these autoimmune diseases where the immune system is attacking my body, specifically the connective tissue in my joints. And it's debilitating. I mean, it knocked me out and put me on the ground. I Googled just the other night how many people are being diagnosed with just these two diseases of psoriatic arthritis and ankylosing spondylitis, and it's over 200,000 people per year. There's about 3.5 million people in the United States just with AS. So the numbers are profound, and it's just going up with stress levels, with all kinds of things. So I also had an inner knowing that more was possible, that I did not have to accept the prognosis. And that is one thing we all can recognize we have a choice in. What do we feel like we're capable of doing? And so I kept on searching, and I found amazing guides. I studied with multiple New York Times bestselling author Greg Braden. I studied with people at the Institute of Heart Math. I took a trip down to Colombia by myself, hired a local guide from the Wiwa tribe named Kunkwamako, and trekked for a week through the Colombian jungle to go meet the elders of the Kogi and the Wiwa tribes, who have an ancient tradition still standing of understanding emotional intelligence and how it heals. All these were helpful. None of it solved the problem. And then I met one person named Peter Winslow, still a good friend, mentor, and guide of mine today. And he had a message for me that was that he'd healed from the same disease I did, and he believed I could do it too. So for all of you out there, like I want that to symbolize and signify the importance of community, the importance of what Guidely is doing here. We have confusion in our heads, but we have a knowing in our hearts. And when you find a supportive community that believes the same thing your heart believes, like boom, amazing changes can happen. So fun side note, when I was really, really sick, the woman I was dating, her name is Lonnie Forrester. She might be on this call today. She started introducing these mind body concepts to me. And I knew you could heal, but I didn't know how. And I was super confused and I was pissed off at life and I was scared. And I remember just not being a believer in this kind of work. And I called her an extremist and I got really upset. And so for any of you out there that are kind of on the fence about this sort of work, like I was totally there too. Again, I had to learn. I had to learn the science, get involved with people, and then it all kind of started to click for me. So, we don't all need a diagnosis in order to wake up to some of the things I'm talking about today. I needed a diagnosis to knock me out, knock me down, teach me some things, and then I could move forward with life. The cool thing is that a lot of you are healthy, right? Some of you are working through some stuff. Regardless of where you are with that, what we're talking about today, it capitalizes human potential and it maximizes sort of the natural laws that already govern how our bodies function. Okay, so my intention for today is to share some very specific things that helped me heal. And with that, some of the things that I've seen help other people in the 10 years or so that I've been learning about mind body stuff and working on myself and sharing this with the world at large. So the successful commonalities, this is really important. So this is where, write these down, take some notes. What I have seen as primary and foundational for people's success, whether it's healing from some crazy thing or just learning to be a little bit happier in life, is two things. One, they have that inner knowing. I already talked about that. A knowing, a feeling that more is possible for them. And number two, they get some kind of guidance where they're not alone. We are social creatures. The field of evolutionary psychology to me is fascinating. And it talks about how we're designed to be in tribe. And when we are kicked out of the tribe, we go into a very high stress response that's deep in the limbic part of the brain. When we feel alone, when we feel isolated, we get depressed and we get sick. It's just part of the way it goes. When I was really developing sickness quickly, I was not talking. I was closed up. I was not engaging in community. I was very isolated. And I can see now how when we are designed to survive in tribe, that the importance of having a guiding community is paramount, right? For our baseline physiology. The biggest roadblock is that someone's community doesn't support their vision. If you're going to build a business, why would you hang out with people that tell you you can't? When I was diagnosed with diseases considered incurable, it didn't behoove of me. It wasn't in my best interest to continue hanging out with people that said I couldn't heal. Like that just doesn't make sense. So, and I've seen people stand on the sidelines for years and everyone in their own time, right? So there's nothing wrong with that. I just want you to know moving forward in whatever it is that you're passionate about, like finding a supportive community. Like the number of guides that Guidely is highlighting and their expertise, like what a brilliant freaking community for people looking for healing, business, spiritual, career, divorce, whatever it is. So that's the biggest roadblock. Now I'm going to explain something to you. This was first introduced to me by one of my main guides, Peter Winslow, who had also healed from ankylosing spondylitis. And this is a much deeper understanding of the law of attraction. Some people were curious about the law of attraction kind of stuff. This is the law of identity. And the law of identity states this, and I encourage you to write this down. It says that in life, we don't get what we want, we get what we are. In life, we don't get what we want, we get what we are. So I'll give you an example of that. We'll take someone who is successful, take Michael Jordan, famous basketball player. Michael Jordan didn't make his high school basketball team, but he didn't let that stop him, right? He knew that there was greatness inside of himself. And so he worked hard. Doesn't mean you don't work hard. He found coaches, he found guides, and he like, you don't get what you want, you get what you are. He held that energy of success way before he was actually successful. The behaviors of success often come before success itself, right? People get acknowledged and famed in public for the hard freaking work they do behind the scenes. Okay, this starts to talk about that. Some more definitions I want you to write down, and there's a lot of substance to these. There's a lot of meat to them. I want you to write my definition of healing. My definition of healing, and it's always kind of changing and having fun with it, but it is recognizing that I have the ability to create something improved in every moment. We'll talk more about that, but I want you to be able to take these home with you. Healing is recognizing I have the ability to create something improved in every moment. Okay, self-care, another definition. This will be the last one for a little bit. Self-care is creating the stories and the identity that make me feel good. A lot of people might think self-care is going on a detox diet once a year, right? Or going and getting a green smoothie. That is great. There's nothing wrong with the green smoothie and detoxing. But if you're parenting energy, if the motive behind that action is I'm not good enough, I'm sick, I need to be better, I'm broken, that kind of thing, that is where people can really go astray. And if you look at the core message in what I'm talking about with the definition of healing and self-care, you'll see that it's all in the mind. It starts in the mind. We'll say it starts in the mind. And there's a common word. The common word in both of these is create. What I work with is more of a creation model than a therapy model. And I'll explain this. Therapy models are beneficial, right? There's nothing wrong with them. I've worked with that kind of stuff before. The therapy model looks at our past and it's like, let's dive in and understand the past in order to understand the present. Look at family traumas. Let's look at like things that went awry back in the day to help understand how that shaped us and characterized us to be who we are now. So that's the therapy is like past to current. The creation model that I work with, and I think it's more fun. I think it's less based in trauma and it's more based in creation and fun and play. For me, the creation model asks, where do you want to go? And what do we need to do to get there? So the therapy is past to current. The creation model is present to future. These are very, very different ways of thinking. And this will make sense kind of as we go on. And with this creation model, we don't beat problems into submission. I didn't beat ankylosing spondylitis and blah, 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 chronic stress, chronic pain, the whole gamut. I didn't beat it into submission in order to get well. I did the opposite. I embodied wellness. I use these definitions of healing, of self-care, to create wellness inside, to elevate my consciousness, and the higher state of consciousness dissolves the lower. So the problems go away by themselves, which is freaking brilliant. Like our mind wants to break stuff apart and understand it. And that's where a lot of allopathic medicine is. And it's very helpful. I am pro anything that helps. I'm not a doctor and I'm not anti-medicine. I'm very pro this, like, let's put our mind into this creation model of like, where do we want to go and how do we want to get there? So these will continue to make some sense. I'm going to share my screen again, and all of you, you're going to draw something. So I'll show you mine, and then I'm going to show you, you can kind of copy it. So this is what you're going to draw. This right here is on the left side of the circle. I don't know if my screen is mirroring things or not, but this is what you're going to draw. Okay, and this line, it could go on either side, but for now, let's put it on the left. This is your creation map. So I'll give you a minute or so to draw that. And for those of you that are dialing in and can't see what I'm talking about today, that's okay. What I'm doing is I'm having people draw 5 consecutive circles. It's kind of like a bullseye, but they're all connected at the bottom. So they kind of stack on top of each other and inside of each other. The lines connect at the bottom, so there's no space between the 5 circles at the bottom, but there's an inch or so in between the tops of all the circles. And then there's one line on the left-hand side. Okay, so do me a favor, when you're finished drawing it, just put your hand up so people can kind of, okay. Okay, and I'll show you this a little bit more later. What I'm going to have all of you do is in this bottom circle, okay, this one in the center here, I want you to write one word. The word is being, B-E-I-N-G. You'll have enough room, depending on the size of your paper, to put some notes into this diagram. But there's a fair amount of content, especially with this being one, and it's a small space. So flip to another page and you can kind of put some notes elsewhere. This being, okay, this is our emotional state. Another word for it would be your mood, right? Our mood is palpable. People know our mood right away. Another word for this would be your vibe, your vibration. In the spiritual community, people talk about your frequency, like what frequency are you holding? And what I want you to really know about your being state is this is your core creation energy. This is, in at least that moment, and it shifts all the time, both short-term and long-term, this is your core creation energy. Am I being negative? Am I being positive? Am I being excited? Am I being lonely? We have all of it. Okay, we are full-fledged human beings with the entire spectrum of human emotion. We are designed and here to feel all of it. There's no getting around some of the more painful things, but within that we have joy too. So that being state is really, really important. And what this model represents, why it's expanding, is it is a creation map that shows how our deepest states of internal being, right? Think of the law of identity here. You don't get what you want, you get what you are. This is what you are at your core in that present moment. It's going to affect something else. So this is how our internal states begin to express themselves through us and into the world around us. And it's why our lives look the way they look. If someone is being negative, their life is going to look a certain way. If someone is being an optimist, their life is going to look a certain way. If someone is being whatever, their life is going to look a certain way. So I'm gonna throw this in the chat. For those of you, I love all the participation. Shannon, you said, can you say the self-care definition again, please? Yes, I just saw this now. Oh, Nicolette got it. Great.
Yeah, Nikki shared it with me. I didn't have my paper yet, but I ran and got one. So
I saw you running around. I wondered what you were doing. Okay, cool.
I see a couple of hands up too, Sky. I don't know if you want to take questions now or if you want to have them drop in the chat and you can check in to keep the conversation flowing.
Let's if there is a question, I'm happy to take it. And I had people raise their hands when they was drawing something.
Yeah.
So that could be part of it. And if your questions are absolutely welcome, you guys. So throw them in the chat. And Shannon, if you see something come up, just yell at me. Tell me
okay.
Okay. So back to, so we've got this being state. It's expressing itself as us into the world around us. What do you guys think comes next? What is the next thing that is affected by our current emotional state? And put it in the chat. Okay. Ron Miller says feeling. Feeling is kind of what we're already talking about. Feeling is that being state. Action, body, stress. It comes back to acting. Okay, we're getting there. Beliefs. Okay. Doing, speaking. Okay. You guys are all smart, and we're getting to some of these. We're not quite there yet. Behavior, belief, existing, creating. Michael, dude, yes, good to see you here. Relationship. So this model, right? There's so many things that can be right. Right? We can create on this forever. Who just got it? Ron. Okay, perfect. So for the purposes of now, and you guys said a bunch of stuff, and we could work with all of it. For the purposes of now, we're going to talk about thinking. Okay, how I'm feeling begins to affect how I'm thinking. And a lot of people, when I teach this, they're like, wait, Sky, like I thought how I was thinking affects how I'm feeling. There are very powerful feedback loops, very tight feedback loops within that. Yes, how you're thinking affects how you're feeling. How you're feeling affects how you're thinking. What I want you to understand is that you are a human being first. You are the original shape of consciousness in which thinking can therefore take place. So you're a human being first. I know we can feel like human thinkings when our mind won't shut up. But for this, recognize that we have a being state that then influences our thinking. Okay, what would come next? In the now. Good answers. These are all really fun. So, Ron, I think you said it a little while ago. So let's mine this. We'll crowdsource brilliance from you guys, and participation is always more fun than just being static. So what do you guys think comes next? Being, action. We're getting there. Not quite there yet. Doing, again, we're getting there. Acting, speaking. Okay, Shannon, great. So, okay, cool. And someone else got it. Corinne, great. So it is speaking. How we are feeling affects what we're thinking about, which affects what we're speaking about. When you spend time around someone who's feeling and being and thinking very victimized, it's going to come out in their language. If you're around someone who's embodying success, who's embodying fun, who's embodying play in whatever way, it's going to come out, and their words are going to resemble that inner state. So let's keep going. What would come next? And I've seen it. So, okay. So Corinne, we'll just go with you. Actions, perfect. So doing. So we've got being, thinking, speaking, and doing. The first person that introduced this to me was Peter Winslow, and he gave it to me as immaculate reception, where it's like perfectly creates our situations. And I've played around with it and changed it quite a bit. But what's next, guys? We've got being, thinking, speaking, doing. Any other ideas? So we're going to zoom out, start looking at our lives more from kind of an aerial view. And the chat's doing funny things. Reaction, feeling. Ron keeps coming back to the feeling. Living, cool. So Hoda, I love what you just said there. So I'm going to use the word creating instead of feeling. And there's a reason for that. And I literally have creating/living. So dude, you nailed it. I guess I'm assuming that's a male. I don't know for sure. But so our life starts to unfold a certain way. It starts to look a certain way. It's the life that we're creating. And the reason I'm not using living here is because it's just a little bit too passive. Like, I'm not going to let you guys off the hook that much, right? It is the life that we are creating. And so it asks us to take some ownership. We are living lives, right? It's not necessarily a wrong answer. With this model of creation, what I'm being, thinking, speaking, and doing begins creating the world that I'm living, right? Creating the world I'm in. Okay, last thing, we're going to put one more word on the outside of this graph. This is where the law of attraction comes in. This is where the universe kind of meets us where we're at. This is where our internal confirmation biases, if you want to look at it through the world of psychology, start to be confirmed. Manifesting, yay, receiving. Okay, so great. So manifesting and receiving. I love Ron's reactions. You're throwing darts, man. You're throwing so many. You're hitting some of them. So it's this receiving principle. Okay, it is what we are receiving from the world around us based on what we are being with these internal states of doing, and as they express themselves out into the world around us. Think about the building you're in. Okay, this is a fun example that one of my guides gave to me. At some point, someone was being a certain way. Maybe a developer was being creative, and they look at that land and they're like, "What do I want to put on that land?" And they're thinking about it, right? They're being creative. They're thinking about it, and then they're like, "Hey, I want to build a building." So then they start talking about it, and then they start talking with some contractors, some building people, developers, architects, whatever down the line. From that being state and the thinking state comes a communication. Then they start doing stuff. They start bulldozing the ground. They start bringing in the trucks. They bring in whatever they need to do, and the doing takes place, and they are creating a building. Right? This is how this internal state expresses itself. I can tell you that looking at health and wellness with me, I was being shame. I was being inadequate. I was being scared. I was being confused. And as I internalized those states enough, it caused enough stress and complication and confusion, complexity in my mind, put enough stress in my body. And genetically, at a certain place, we tend to switch. All of a sudden, genetic disease hits us because of this process working in a way that's more painful, versus the building example is kind of more productive. Okay, so let's see. On that left-hand side, what we're going to do, I want you to, on the top of it, I'll show you mine. Okay, so make sure. Okay, on the top, right, kind of on the outside edge, I want you to write, I don't know if that's mirrored or not. If it is, I apologize. What I want you to write is your intention, also known as directed consciousness. This is where you set your life into motion. So since we are setting into motion, make that line an arrow at the top. Put those two 45-degree angles up there. Give this thing some life. Give this thing some movement. And the last thing, and I will show you a completed version of this in just a minute. So if you're kind of lost, you'll see mine. So beneath it, right here, put unconscious. Okay, we've got your directed consciousness up top. I want you to put unconscious below. And this is a reminder for you that this process of creation is happening all the time, whether it's conscious or not. Okay, this is a map of creation. It's brilliant. Like, the more you look at this, the more you're going to see it take place, whether we're aware of it or not. It is happening. And my goal for you is to bring to conscious awareness some of these habits of creation that happen unconsciously, so that we can direct them in the lives we want to go, whether it's towards healing from disease or doing whatever else we want to do in life.
Sky, can you, maybe I'm just slow this morning, but can you go to the unconscious part again? I've got the conscious on the top, arrows up, right? And then unconscious, like if they're unconscious, how do I find them?
So, okay, so yes, I love your question. Do you want to see the map again? And is it like a thing there?
No, it's how to pull what I'm being asked to pull right now.
Okay, so to pull what you're being asked to pull right now. So the fact that unconscious habits are creating part of your life.
Yeah, and did you have us mapping unconscious on one side?
I did, yes. So I'm going to screen share.
Okay, so if they're unconscious, how do I know about them? I guess this is my...
Cool, you don't. It can be discovered as we go on. And some of the habits I'm going to talk about, the next step in this, reconditions ourselves out of unconscious things And we don't have to always know what they are.
Mhm.
That's kind of thing. In this model of creation, like I said, the higher state of consciousness dissolves the lower. So like the therapy model might be like, okay, like going into family trauma and how is that programming us now in like unconscious behaviors? That's great, right? That's one model. What we'll do here, and it'll make more sense as we go on, is what do we do now to condition ourselves where we want to go? And when we do that, we sort of let go of some of those unconscious things that are holding us back because we're conditioning ourselves in a new way.
Got
Does
it.
that make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Well, hopefully that question helped others on the call too. I feel like am I just not catching up? But thank you.
Yeah, and I can move kind of fast sometimes. So this is a completed diagram.
Got it.
And Shannon, I'll just talk about that a little bit more. So that arrow puts this in motion. And what I really like, our directed consciousness is really what puts us in motion. The unconscious stuff is kind of sitting there underneath our awareness. And like if we have, I mean, I've done this. There are things that I was afraid of in life that I wasn't actually ready for, like deep down in my unconscious. I was afraid of them. And so I ended up kind of sabotaging certain things in my life unconsciously using this model so that my unconscious awareness like still maintained the status quo. It was still the driving factor. We won't bring things into our life until unconsciously we feel safe to bring them in. If someone is afraid of public speaking, for example, they won't do it until at least at some degree they feel like they can. That boils down to a pretty like primal feeling of safety in your unconscious brain, deep in like the limbic part of your brain. So I think you guys are probably good on that. Okay. Last thing I'll say. So the bottom of this right here, okay, at the bottom, this thing is moving up. This is directed intention. This is where we're going in life. This right here, these are collapsed possibilities. These don't exist anymore. I'll give you an example. If I'm like kind of debating on going to Florida, or I'm kind of debating on going to California for a move, I'm like, oh, what do I want to do? What do I want to do? The more set I get in my creation model of moving to California, the more the concept of moving to Florida collapses. When we say yes to one thing with everything we've got, we've just said no to everything else. So at the bottom here, like these are collapsed possibilities. I could, of course, change my mind and I could be like, well, I want to move somewhere else. But then this whole thing just reverts. And I'm like, no, I want to go to Cali. But this right here is collapsed possibilities. So an example of that is the more confident I got in understanding the mind-body complex, the more the possibility of me maintaining sickness for the rest of my life collapsed. It fell away. In the world of quantum physics, they talk about like everything's existing at every moment. Like everything exists, but we define with our consciousness certain possibilities. And so the collapsed possibilities, they don't exist for us anymore. The more confidence we have in that direction, the more that direction doesn't make sense. It's not really just what we're going to do. Okay. Just looking at some of the chats. Yes, this is being recorded. Yeah, creation's happening all the time. Yeah, Ron says without having to figure it all out. Totally. And we will get there. Cool. So now we're going to talk about how to begin speaking. Then the title of today's presentation is Your Body is Brilliant. So this creation map is good for a lot of different things. To fine tune to get to today's topic, we're going to talk about how to begin speaking directly to the body in the language that it understands. Thoughts are the language of the brain. Emotions are the language of the body. And what I'm sharing with you now is considered what I call bottom-up conditioning. These are ways that we begin to program and condition ourselves for success. Shannon, this is where things like the unconscious states that aren't serving us anymore fall away by themselves. We don't have to understand exactly what they are. This is where, like with this bottom-up conditioning, we learn to program our body for a certain outcome. We won't get to the top-down stuff today. Maybe that's for, Your Body is Brilliant version 2. There's tons of good stuff there. But this bottom-up stuff will really help you all speak with your body and ask it to do certain things. The people at the Institute of Heart Math in Northern California, some of you may be familiar with them. They're these diehard scientists studying the science of the heart in very scientific but non-conventional ways. And they've studied the healing benefits of certain emotions like care, compassion, appreciation, and gratitude. And these are healing superpowers. It sounds a little cliche, but love heals, guys. We've been taught to fight. We've been taught to fight illness. We've been taught to figure everything else, or to figure a lot of things out, and to fight things that we don't want. There are millions of people around the world that are part of a group called the AS Warriors, the people with ankylosing spondylitis who are doing their best in life. Like, can't blame them. But the term says a lot. AS Warrior. There's a fight energy there. And as my guide Peter told me, like, Sky, if you're fighting a war with yourself, who wins? Especially in the world of health and healing and autoimmune stuff, that fight energy is just more stress. It's more illness. So care, compassion, appreciation, and gratitude begin to shift the biochemistry in our body. So as we sit and relax, and as I'll give a personal example, even when I was really sick, I could do this. I would sit down and so I'd start feeling gratitude. I have a really good family. I was able to very quickly and genuinely feel grateful for my mom and dad who are on this call with us today. And as I create a clear vision of like sitting in my parents' living room with them, having a good time, I could start to feel it. I could start to generate this elevated emotion in my chest. It's a very heart-centered emotion. And what I learned to do with the guys from Greg Braden, Institute of Heart Math kind of people, is learn to drop this into the body. And as that happens, a lot of physiological changes happen. So I'll explain. So and we're going to practice this here in a minute. So I'll stop talking and you guys can kind of play with something here. As I would sit quietly and visualize my parents or anything or anyone that I could genuinely be grateful for, create a clear image of it, feel it, and then drop that into my body and just hold it, it does a couple of things. For one, it drops our brain waves. You've got gamma, beta, alpha, theta, and delta. It drops your brain waves lower, which means your monkey mind quiets down. It opens up our ability to reprogram the subconscious mind. The lower the brainwave state, the more subconscious reprogramming we can do. And for me, I was freaking highly motivated to do that because I understood that my subconscious was influencing my immune system. And my immune system was attacking the joints in my body. And it was unbelievably painful. So brainwave changes. We also begin moving electricity intentionally from one part of the brain to the other. So instead of firing down the neural pathways of pain and disability, victimization, anger, resentment, whatever might be up in your life, we can start firing down things of gratitude, appreciation, care, and wellness. And neurons that fire together, wire together. And that's exactly what we want. And what's so cool about this is our body is working with us and for us all the time. We just need to learn how to talk to it. And it gets easier. It's a learned skill. It's riding a bike. You do it again, again, and again. It gets easier and easier and easier. So a lot of information here. Then there's a biochemical shift in the body. Our chemistry changes. Our heart opens up. Our brain and our heart start connecting in something called coherence, which is just like To translate it into what it feels great. It's this warm sensation of we feel safe, we feel healthy, we feel well. And then the people at the Institute of Heart Math have documented that when someone feels something like care, compassion, whatever, there are up to 14 to 1500 different biochemical reactions that take place within the body. That's brilliant. That is healing, my friends. That shift in biochemistry in your body begins to change the genetic expression of your genes. This is where people are healing from genetic diseases because they're changing the environment that the cell is in. And the blossoming science of epigenetics is just like, if you type into Google how much that word has been put into Google in the last 20 years, starting a few years ago, it just goes straight up. And it's this new science that's giving us scientific permission to heal from things that we otherwise didn't have scientific permission to heal from. So the changes are huge. The first time you do it, you might feel a little bit. The next time, it gets more and more and more. So that's a lot of talking. Cool. So if there's any questions, let me know. So all of you, we're gonna play with this. Now is your time to kind of relax. So you can turn your brain off for a minute and sit back in your chair. Just close your eyes, relax. We're gonna play with this for about 5 or 6 minutes. I'm gonna give you a couple prompts, and you can stick with the prompt I give you. And if it's working for you, stay there. After about a minute, I'll give you another one, and you can kind of transition to that one. So for now, sit back, close your eyes, relax. And I want you to visualize. Again, the formula is a clear mental image and a genuine emotion. So you are the creator of this. This is not a guided meditation. I'm not having you follow me. This is your imagery. So think about any place on earth, anywhere, that you have a genuine, grateful connection for. Visualize it in mind, and then drop it into your body. And I will give you 1 minute starting now. Stay there if you want, or transition to an animal, spirit animal, a real animal, any animal you have a genuine connection with for 1 minute. Stay there if you wish, or transition to any person, anywhere, in your gratitude for them. Stay there if you wish. And the last one we're going to do is gratitude for something about yourself. And slowly start to come out whenever you're ready. So the way that we can use these, so we can drop out of the monkey mind when it gets crazy and complex and go right into lowering our brain waves and reprogramming ourselves, reconditioning ourselves out of whatever kind of stuff our head was thinking about that we didn't like. And what's so interesting about this is as you begin conditioning yourself to feel things like gratitude more often, you'll notice when you start getting stressed out faster. We tend to condition ourselves with feeling states and not be aware of it. If I'm constantly living in a state of stress, I'm also not going to be aware of when I get stressed out. It's just going to be part of my world. This gives you some contrast to play with. And it took me a lot of work. I studied a lot of science. I studied a lot of different things. And if I did anything to heal from disease, one of the things is I learned to turn chronic stress into at least some level of chronic gratitude. I've conditioned myself with gratitude a lot. Stress still hits me. I still have the things that stress me out. But the difference is that when it happens, I can very quickly default to actually something to be grateful for. And this right here has helped keep my nervous system relaxed, to keep it flexible, to be able to walk into extremely busy environments or stand in front of people and literally feel the emotion of gratitude. Even when my head wants to freak out, right? When my head wants to cause stress, I have a feeling in my body because I've done a lot of this and I've learned it. You literally are learning wellness. If I teach anything to clients and people that are looking to improve their health, it's teaching them the art of wellness. And this is a really foundational part of it. It asks us to put what would otherwise be like our total identity into our monkey mind and to begin feeling our body. And the more you do it, the easier it gets. All of those, if you have any questions on that, sort of let me up. So Chrissy, I am statements, totally, we're getting there. If we can picture it, we can feel it. Okay, you all just kind of experience that. If you can picture someone that you have anger towards, you can feel it. If you picture something to be grateful for, you can feel it. And people are saying that this was powerful, perfect. It really is. This is all the bottom up stuff. Someday we'll get to the top down, which is also really fun. But this emotional intelligence of what I'm talking about now is how people are reprogramming their brains. They're giving themselves a new and improved genetic outcomes from illness. And they are moving forward in life, holding the emotional state of whatever they want instead of being reactive to the world around them. And Ron, who's on this call today, Ron and I went to a conference a couple of years ago with Greg Braden and the Heart Math guys. And Howard Martin, one of the head scientists at the Institute of Heart Math, was like, the next evolution in human consciousness is being able to feel how we want to feel when we want to feel it. This skill set takes a little work, right? I'm not going to lie, but it allows you to do that to at least some degree. You're not left ping-ponging around feeling things based on all this external stuff. You can maintain an equilibrium solidly with some practice that, I mean, like I said, when people learn this and they have ankylosing spondylitis or something, like that disease doesn't stand a chance once they start nailing this. Okay, now moving on to another variety of this. There's two types of bottom-up conditioning that I'm going to give you guys today. That was understanding heart-based emotions. The next thing we're going to talk about is feeling-based meditations. Okay, feeling-based meditations. And so Hoda says, Ron says these states of being are always accessible. Hoda, what about depression? That is internal. Question mark. I mean, so there are very tight feedback loops with depression. Feeling depressed makes us typically think depressed thoughts, and thinking depressed thoughts makes us feel depressed. What this biohack I'm giving you here is where you can say you're feeling depressed. Okay, I've been there too. Sitting on the couch, feeling depressed. What am I going to do about it? Am I going to let that overcome me? Am I going to let my brain just fire down those electrical pathways and make those super highways? Or do I want to do something different? This is the creation model. Come back to what I said of healing is realizing you can create something improved in every single moment. So depression, like instead of sitting there feeling it with this bottom up tool, start feeling something else. Put your energy in something. Find something you're not depressed about. Find something to be grateful for. Clearly visualize it and put it into body. Visualize it and put it into body. And like I said, it's like that backflip photo. If there's a reason I showed that to you in the beginning, it's because we did a lot of that kind of stuff. And every time I did a backflip, my mind got better at going from the cognitive awareness, whatever's going on up here, in the body. And so with depression in my personal life, when it hits, I do two things. For one, I practice non-resistance. This is why I love your guys' questions, because we can navigate with this. We have flexibility here. The practice of non-resistance, right? If we're feeling depressed, but we're okay about feeling depressed, some of that depression goes away. Our internal state is just elevated. We let go of some of that fight. We let go of at least some of that resistance. We created something new in that moment, and it was a belief. That's some of the top-down conditioning, right? Is this practice of acceptance, this practice of non-resistance. So, of course, we can talk more about depression and stuff like that, but for now, hopefully, Hoda, that answers some of what you were kind of thinking of. If we can feel it, if we can picture it, we can feel it. So feeling-based meditations, we do this all the time. Again, these are happening all the time. Worry, okay? Worry is a feeling-based meditation. The more we worry about something, the more that mental imagery and the emotion attached to it is going to pull us into a sympathetic nervous system response, puts us into fight or flight. We feel nervous, right? This like baseline physiology. So very few people begin to flip this and use this as a pretty powerful tool for them. What do you want to feel? Okay, for example, what I wanted to feel was what it felt like to heal from freaking several diseases. I wanted to feel what it felt like to run again. I wanted to feel what it felt like to be able to sneeze and not have it drop me to the ground because it hurt so bad. What you learned through that gratitude practice, whether you felt gratitude for body, earth, yourself, someone else, there's an emotional signature to those. Sure, you're feeling gratitude, but there's a specific signature to all of those. If we can picture it, we can feel it. That's the power of imagination. Humans are amazing in our ability to do that. We don't have other species on the planet that can do this. Maybe chimps and bonobos to like a very small degree. Dolphins have some intelligence and emotional stuff. But your ability to imagine things and then feel them in your body is one of the most powerful biohacks that I know of. Bottom up conditioning. So worry, right? Worrying is a good example. Think about things that you would like to feel. Maybe it's abundance. Maybe it's wealth. Can you feel wealthy, despite having a stack of bills on the table? And I'll tell you what's magical about this kind of thing, and my mind is constantly blown with it. I learned these to project myself into the wellness direction. Other people use them for all kinds of stuff. But when you learn to hold these emotional states, despite what your environment is enforcing on you, it's amazing what shows up. It's unbelievable. I mean, Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about this with health. And people also use it to generate huge levels of abundance, business success. I'm going to share with you something. How are we doing on time? A lot of information, guys, I know. Okay, so I'm going to share with you one thing. I like ancient wisdom. Like I said, I traveled down to Colombia and went into the jungles to study for people. And there's a book here. It's called Wisdom Codes, Ancient Words to Rewire Our Brains and Heal Our Hearts. This kind of stuff has been really helpful for me. And what I've learned is a lot of what I'm teaching, it's ancient. People have known this forever. And there's a passage here that, so side note, to the researchers of like this book, this is Greg Braden, they've done a lot of work into understanding some ancient texts. I haven't put that much in. But what these authors are saying is that about 340 to 400 AD, under the Emperor Constantine, there were severe edits made to many of the biblical texts. And it was made to kind of disempower people. And they pulled out a lot of information in there that had to do with self-healing. 1945, long time later, there were discoveries made. I believe what I'm going to read to you now came from the Dead Sea Scrolls, which were found, I think, in Egypt. So kind of a quick little history lesson for you there. But to the point, this stuff is not new. I'm going to explain this passage to you. It's biblical, right? And it's been translated. So it's a little different, but it'll make sense. The edited version of John 16. So ask without hidden motive and be surrounded by your answer. Be enveloped by what you desire, that your gladness be full. There's a lot of meat and juiciness in this, and I'm going to tell you exactly how I used it. Okay, hidden motive. So ask without hidden motive. What are you asking of the universe? What do you want to feel in life? I wanted to feel health. So the way I learned to connect with my body was to stop trying to go out and get health and begin generating these elevated emotional states inside. That's how I was asking. The hidden motive part, this for those of you working on health things, this is really, really important. The best way to do it, this hidden motive, is you don't meditate in order to heal. That's the hidden motive. You meditate, you generate health for the sake of doing it, and you hold it very, very genuine. It's about the genuine elevated emotion. That's what makes the changes in the body. If I am meditating something, if I'm feeling what it feels like to be healthy because I want to heal, that is not as genuine. That's the hidden motive. And in a way, I'm actually reaffirming illness into my body. There's a very kind of fine line with this, and I don't want you to obsess about it. Just recognize that it's about this genuine state without a hidden motive. You don't feel well because you want to heal. You feel well to feel well. And then you let it go and you live your life. And you watch with, I love this term, curious optimism. You watch with curious optimism as to what unfolds and what your body does. That's what the higher state pushes out the problems fall away. Okay, ask without hidden motive and be surrounded by your answer. Feel it, surround yourself with it, envelop yourself with it, that your gladness be full. not that your gladness will be full, right? If you want to be happier, try this out. Sit in your room, feel, what does it feel like to be happy? Think about it, drop it into your body, feel it for the sake of feeling it, and then move on. And what you'll find is that if you do this consistently, you are learning happiness. You're conditioning your body to feel this happiness. And that means you move through life feeling it. And again, we have challenges in life. Like, let's not be like too wild with it. We all have challenges in life, there's no doubt, but you condition yourself in a new way. Okay. So last thing I'll say with that, do these frequently. And when you learn that these emotions can be as real, if not more real than your doubts, big changes happen. When I learned to feel wellness in my body more than listen to the doubts in my mind, my body said yes. My body said yes. And that is healing. Okay, so gonna go real quick. I am statements. I'm gonna read something real quick, and I do want to leave time for Q&A. We're gonna talk about, so I'll just give this to you. A lot of people believe that their body follows the mind, but they don't know what the mind follows. The mind follows some very specific things. Your mind follows your core I am statements. Your I am statements define your identity. If I'm saying I am confident, like my body's going to follow me there. I'll be able to do things that I couldn't do if I'm saying I am not good enough. I am inadequate. Okay, so our identity follows these core I am statements. I'm going to read this to you, and it'll highlight some of this. I am statements over time are what we use to condition ourselves to be who we are. Most of this happens unconsciously. Many of our first I ams we learned by consequence we were young. For example, you can do this, but you get in trouble when you do that. From this we learn, I am good when I do this, and I am bad when I do that. This begins the creation of our identity. We then create a self-image around the most repetitive I am statements. My friends out there with illnesses, I've seen people heal by changing their I am statements. This is what my guide, Peter Winslow, really ingrained into me. It sounds very simple, but when you recognize that your mind follows your core I am statements, then it gives you a whole new way to focus your consciousness. Instead of trying to beat disease into submission, we replace the I ams with something better. And I'll talk about how to do that in just a minute. Okay. This conditioned identity in both feeling and mind have now created a relationship to how we feel we can live in the world. This dictates what is available to us and what isn't, what we can do and what we cannot do. If we don't feel like we can do something, you guys, we won't do it. Like, we can think we can do it, but if we don't feel we can do it, that will be a huge roadblock for us. Okay, so what we're gonna do, I'm gonna skip some things here, and that's okay. What I want you to do is, with these I am statements, some people go right into affirmations. Okay, if I'm feeling really sick and I take on this affirmation that I am whole and complete in all ways, then all of a sudden that actually backfires. And the ego is like, no, you're not, you're sick. And they're like, oh yeah, I'm sick. And then we feel like crap and we can judge ourselves. So there are a couple of rules with this. Small change with a lot of confidence. It's much more powerful to say, I am on the right path. I am learning more every day. I'm feeling supported, than it is to try and like force something into you that you don't actually feel is true or believe, that actually just backfires. Affirmations can backfire on people. So I am on the right path. I am feeling better. I'm feeling supported. I am learning more all the time. I'm getting better. Those right there, when you believe them, they actually resonate with your nervous system and they will elevate your state. Healing comes from feeling. We learn to feel good for a period of time. It becomes habit. And that higher state of feeling The higher state of consciousness dissolves the lower. These I am statements, there are a lot of people that move around not knowing what they're declaring to their body, to those around them, to themselves, and to the universe. And it comes from these I am statements. There's a lot more that we could talk about there. Shannon, how are we doing on time?
Well, we've got about 15 more minutes, but we have dropped off. I think many people are running out of time that they've got. So I think starting the Q&A now would be awesome.
Perfect.
I have seen a bunch of people in the chat. Gotta run. So in the interest of time, Q&A would be awesome.
Totally. Yeah, I agree. It's a lot of information. Good job, you guys. I know I gave you a lot to think about. So yeah, what questions do you have?
So I'll start, Sky, because I'd like to, on the I am.
Sure.
One that was very easy for me to embody and feel in my body. Like, felt no resistance. Yes, I'm good with this. And then I have one, which I feel like is a goal I am. Maybe it's not huge. I don't want it to backfire, but I feel a little more like, ooh, do I actually want to embody this? So any tips on moving from the start small with confidence to, kind of taking on those bigger I ams?
Yeah. Will you give me an example of your I ams?
Yeah, sure. So my easy one is I am divinely held and supported.
Cool. And that feels true to you?
Absolutely.
Perfect. Beautiful.
And then my next one is I'm a powerful, intentional creator.
Okay. And that's the one you are working on.
Yeah.
Okay. So what shifts do you think you can make in that and I know that's kind of what you're asking me. Mm-hmm. Is there anything that jumps out? Like, I can give you an example.
Yeah, I'd love an example.
Cool. I'm learning to be a powerful and intentional creator. Is that what it was? Power and intention?
Yeah.
Yeah. I am. Yeah. If you can't quite get there, throwing in the word learning is like, I think your mind can get that. And as like, to the point of this, Shannon, what I want you to recognize is like, does it feel true? Does it elevate your state? And when it does, it reinforces that whole pattern. We don't get what we want, we get what we are. You're embodying more of that than you were before.
Mm-hmm. I love that learning. I feel like that's a supportive word that allows me to not get, to feel overwhelmed by the bigness of the statement.
Totally. It's a big statement. Totally. Yeah. Good job. I love it. Like, cool path you're on, my friend.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anyone else? Can I sort of, and it can be on anything, before we go into closing? Cool. People are grateful. Awesome. Really good to see people on here today.
So Marie Maloney has her hand up.
Cool.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Hey, Marie.
Hi.
Hi.
So I'm just thinking of just like how we become identified, like in our childhood with certain things and how complex it can be to really like unpack the beliefs that are beneath it. Okay. And so like the example I want to use is like, I really grew up in poverty, like complete abject poverty. And I feel like my whole family, we have this, like, we're kind of stuck in that. And like, I don't even know all the beliefs that are underlying it, but like there's this way where I feel like we just attract that to ourselves because that's our identity. And yeah, I don't even know like what would be the statements I would be using to like create a different identity because it's not really within my experience.
Okay, cool. Great. So there are a couple of things you can do. So for one, the bottom-up conditioning of feeling what it feels like to feel whatever level of wealth you can kind of get to. Maybe it's just like, what does it feel like to feel relief because you can pay your bills? That right there is where I would like you to put your energy. Because as you said, our past and the way our minds work and family dynamics, it can be so complicated. I'm not smart enough to figure it all out either. What I've learned is some of those will naturally fall away when you've reconditioned yourself to feel more abundant. So two things. One is to elevate your state by, like, for example, what does it feel like to feel a little bit more financially free? What does it feel like to be able to pay the bills? What does it feel like to be able to use as much electricity as you want? All of those are emotional signatures that are you speaking to your body in the language it understands. And from that, it changes your feeling state. And then all of a sudden you feel like more is capable. You feel like more is possible for you in the world. And like I said before, and this will make sense, if our entire identity is wrapped around a certain thing, poverty, for example, it's actually where we feel safe. It's not necessarily the most fun place to be, but it's actually where we feel safe, especially when it has to do with the family dynamic. So in order to change that, we kind of can't until we feel safe with the change. Our nervous system won't let something happen to us if we don't feel safe with it. So that feeling state stuff is a great place to start, right? And then there's the head part, which is like, I am, and again, this is where you can come up with yours. How does this sound? Like, I am open to receiving more money. Are you still here with me, or have you muted?
No, I'm still here.
Okay. So does
And
that one resonate at all in any way?
no, it doesn't. And
Mhm.
I guess that's, and you're so right. Like, it is about, where do I feel, I think I would use the word at home. Like there's a way where poverty feels like home. It feels like salt
Yes.
of the earth. There's like some positives around it too, associations of being, I don't know, like accessible. I don't know. Being poor, like my fellow poor people.
Uh-huh.
So I don't know. I've always wondered, is there something I need to overcome that I associate positively with being poor in order to be able to even embrace abundance?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. So you can see how confusing things get quickly in the mind,
Especially
right?
around the feeling part, because I can intellectualize, but the feeling part in my body seems at war with it.
Okay. So that's good. I'm glad you said that, because that's exactly where to put some energy then. And so the feeling stuff, again, you'll create what feels right to you. Like, maybe, what does it feel like to be able to take a day off? There's a feeling state to that. And it creates a little bit of flexibility, a little bit of improvement in your nervous system around, like, a lack energy. And it's small. And so, like, how does that one sound? I'll just ask. Is that, like, what does it feel like to be able to take a little bit of a break because you can?
Yeah, that actually sounds really nice.
Cool. And
Yeah.
so all of these build on each other. And that, once you can normalize that and feel safe with that one, it'll lead to the next. It'll lead to the next. These I ams are always happening all the time. They're always at play. Most of it's unconscious. And so you, with what does it feel like to be able to take a little bit of a break? When your nervous system calibrates to that, it's going to lead to something even more.
Okay, that helps. Thank you.
Perfect. Yeah. And so last thing I'll say, and then we kind of got to go here, but put your energy there instead of trying to figure out all the other stuff. You're never going to figure everything out, but you can condition yourself to hold a new energy around this. That's the creation model that I'm highlighting today.
I love it. Thank
Cool.
you.
Yeah. Thanks for your question. Super appreciate it. Okay.
You have Lance, Sky, and then we'll probably wrap this up here.
Okay, cool. Hey, Lance.
Hi there.
Hey.
Yeah, so I have something that when someone hints something to me, especially if it's something fairly important, it's like I block it off for that moment. And later on, when I can step back and think about it, then I can look at that hint. And it was something that has been frustrating to me, but I think it's a habit probably from my youth. And it's something I would like to get better at, because often people hint at important things before they come out and say it. So if I don't address it at the moment, they take it as a negative.
Okay. So can you give me an example?
Let's say someone is going to offer to help me at something. Let's say there's a major financial thing I was trying to do, and someone was starting to lead toward that, but they didn't come out and say, you know, I'm willing to help you with this. They started with a hint, but I kind of always back off on that because I don't know where it's going. And, you know, yeah, I know lawyers they never ask questions that they don't know the answer to it. And maybe the fact that I don't know the answer to that or where it's going makes me uncomfortable.
So you're talking about like avoidance?
It is avoiding it until I can step back and maybe think about it that evening on my own time.
Okay. So if I'm following right, the two things that are coming up, we'll see if this resonates with you.
Okay.
One is the concept of avoidance. When we are avoiding things, we tend to think that that thing is bigger than us. And so we steer around it. It's kind of a fear-based coping mechanism. Okay, I don't want to talk to that person. They're dropping a hint that they're pissed at me, and that situation seems very big and scary right now. I'm going to avoid it. The other thing that's coming up is that, like, you're talking about people dropping hints, and it makes me think of people like complimenting. Like, we can't receive a compliment, or we can't receive something that's not in alignment with our identity. And so, like, without knowing kind of like more specifics about what these hints are, we won't be able to receive something if it's not in alignment with who we think we are.
Okay.
Does any of that make sense for your situation?
It actually does. Yeah, because I was brought up in a Pentecostal background, which taught me I had no self-worth. It was only Christ that, you know, mattered. So there is a childhood belief there that I think is still has some effect. But what you said there does make sense. And I think it's something that I incrementally will get better at.
Sure.
So it's a step.
It's a step. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, thanks for your question. I know we're running short on time. I appreciate it, Lance.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Hey,
Awesome.
Shannon.
Yeah, awesome, Sky. Everyone has had great comments. I've seen lots of fun feedback, people looking to work with you further. We're going to send out the replay, and we've got some opportunities, Sky, if you want to share your guidance opportunities with the community here. I'll make sure that the link is in the chat, and then we'll also email the replay and a little summary recap of all the great work we did today, and the link to go ahead and book time with you. Or there's another exciting opportunity that's new on Mondays coming up.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, Shannon. So a couple things. I'm starting a Mind Body Monday group. I'm kind of clearing my schedule for Guidely Mind Body Monday. There's a morning one and an evening one. And we'll talk about mind body stuff, talk about a lot of different things. And it's very affordable, $28, the cost of lunch. And it's designed to build community, right? To have fun, to be part of a supportive community for each other. It's something that I absolutely know is really important in life. And one-on-one coaching, you'll see some stuff in there also. And I have a podcast that I think all of you could really find interesting if you like what I'm saying so far. And in it, I kind of co-host it with one of my greatest guides. It's called Ankylosing Spondylitis Reduce Your Pain, because that's the market I was originally there's so much pain there, and I'm passionate about it. So we'll see how the title develops, but we don't just talk about ankylosing spondylitis. We're talking about wellness. We're talking about a lot of the things that I talked about here. And it'll introduce to you one of my guides who's been very transformational for me.
So
yeah.
That's awesome. Here at Guidely, we're a platform that connects people with personal guides, coaches, mentors, teachers, leaders, authors who can help them on the next step of their journey. So we so appreciate your generosity sharing this free workshop with our community. I have a question on the Mind Body Mondays, which are really exciting. The $28, is that per month? Is that per session? Is it?
So at this point, that's per session, per person. So put your $28 on the table, come, and it's designed to be affordable and have you have at least a little bit of skin in the game. Because that's the goal. Get a little bit of skin in the game and show up and play ball. And they're very much designed in Sky style and fun and playful. And I'm looking forward to it.
That's awesome. I put the link in the chat. Again, we'll send an email replay to all the participants. This was a great workshop, Sky. I learned so much, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Shannon. And keep those notes handy, my friends. Those definitions of self-care and healing will pay dividends for you as you move forward. And much love and good vibes. Thank you.
Thanks, community.
Thank you.